Hi, Natural Nation. This episode is part 2 of my 2-part series on toxins. In the last episode, 184, I talked about how ubiquitous these environmental toxins are, where they come from, and how harmful they are to our systems. Now, if you haven't listened to episode 184 yet, you might want to go back and check that one out. It's worth listening to. Today, we're going to be talking about what we can do to fight back and defend ourselves from all of these environmental insults. They represent a heavy burden to our bodies. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help you navigate natural health God's way so you can stay out of the doctor's office, age gracefully, and live abundantly. I'm your host, David Sandstrom. Now, these 21st century chemicals and electromagnetic toxins, they interfere with our cellular processes, and our body's detox systems can get overloaded. So we've got to be proactive about avoiding toxins and opening up our detox channels. I want to give you some specifics on how to do just that in this episode. So what can we do? The first thing is don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed and give up. We can't live in a bubble. That's no fun. I'm not saying we can't ever drink water out of plastic bottles ever again, or that we can't eat out in a restaurant, or we can't use Wi-Fi. But we do need to control the controllables. We should do what we can to minimize our exposure and maximize our detox systems. Now, our nation's healthcare system is just not incentivized to teach people about prevention. It's far more profitable to encourage people to be passive and just wait until they get sick and treat their ailments with drugs and surgery. A lot more money in that. If you ask your doctor, why do I have these symptoms? They generally just shrug their shoulders and say, well, nobody knows. It's probably genetic. That's why they're so concerned with asking us about our family history on their intake forms. They want to blame things on our genetics. Now, I believe we have a lot more control over our health outcomes than most people realize. And doctors will tell us, oh, if it's not genetic, then it's probably autoimmune. Either way, there's not much you can do. Well, I disagree with that notion. So we've got to just say no to the medical matrix and be far more proactive. We're much better off that way. That's how we stay out of the doctor's office, age gracefully, and live abundantly. By the way, if you're finding value here, you may want to consider subscribing to the full version of the show. What you're listening to right now is the public version, and the private full-length version is available by subscribing to my show or my Christian Healthy Lifestyle community. You can learn more by going to my website, christianhealthylifestyle.com. So what do we do about our toxic environment? Well, I recommend that we get back to basics and do things God's way. We maximize our health potential by aligning our lives more fully with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. Now, we can look to the natural design of our bodies and learn something about how we're supposed to treat them. Some things are spelled out in the Bible quite clearly, but other things are not. The Bible says, do not lie, do not steal, do not commit adultery, forgive others. Those are pretty clear and straightforward. But some things are not as straightforward and they're not as clear. Sometimes we need to look at nature. Psalm 19:2 says this, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the expanse proclaims the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they communicate knowledge. Now, we're part of God's creation, so we are his creatures. God has a natural design for our bodies. Part of that design is our detoxification systems. We mentioned that a little bit last week in episode 184. Our detox channels work really well, but the system has limits. It's not God's preference that we be bathed in a toxic soup day and night. Our grocery stores are filled with processed food-like products that taste good, but those products are designed to addict us and make us fat and sick. We shouldn't be putting toxic chemicals on our bodies in the form of body care products like sunscreens loaded with known carcinogens. We're also exposed to toxins through cleaning supplies, building materials, and even chemicals outgassing in our cars. You know what that new car smell is? It's bisphenol chemicals from the plastics inside the car outgassing into the air. Now, our bodies are sometimes struggling to keep up with this onslaught of toxins and removing those toxins. We need to come alongside our body's detox systems and cooperate with them and make things a little easier for our bodies to stay clean and help us thrive. That cooperation involves two things: reduce exposure and open the detox pathways. The best approach is to do both. That's how we fight back. So let's talk about opening up our detox pathways. The most important detox pathway is the large intestine. We should strive to have at least one productive bowel movement per day. If that's not happening, the first thing to think about is water consumption. Hydration is critical. A good rule of thumb is drink half your body weight in ounces every day. Now, here's the problem. We can't just chug-a-lug a bunch of water in the morning and expect our water needs to be met. That's not enough. Our bodies can only absorb about 1 ounce every 5 minutes, or maybe 2 ounces every 10 minutes. So if we drink more than that, we're just going to pee it out. So the best strategy is to sip water all day long. Another thing we can do to encourage peristalsis, or that rhythmic movement that the colon has, is walking. Get outdoors, breathe in fresh air, get sunlight on our skin, and doing a 10-minute walk once or twice a day is an excellent habit. We should also consider our diet. Fiber can help provide bulk to our stool and encourage more regular elimination. Now, grains are my last choice for increasing our fiber intake because grains have a very high glycemic index. Many people are not aware of that. For a lot of people, eating a sandwich with a couple of slices of bread will spike their blood sugar as much as a bowl of ice cream. True. Now, another thing to consider is mental emotional stress. If we're stressed on a mental emotional level, our bodies will follow that lead, and our bodies will be stressed and will have more difficulty with our elimination. We can do some diaphragmatic breathing. It can help a lot. Now, in next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about the positive impact that breathing and meditation can have on our parasympathetic nervous systems. You don't want to miss next week's episode. It's going to be great. Another thing we should be doing is supporting the liver. Our livers have an important role in the detox process. Now, in order to encourage that process, our bodies need nutrients. We need nutrients like B vitamins, sulfur, and certain key amino acids. The body's master antioxidant is glutathione. When we're young, our body is very efficient at making glutathione on its own. But as we age, especially if we're over 40, our capacity to produce glutathione is reduced. Now, glutathione is a tripeptide. Our bodies make glutathione from the amino acids cysteine, glycine, and glutamate. We get cysteine from meat and organs, aged cheese, and legumes. We get glutamate from bone broth, and also a good source is shiitake mushrooms. We can get glycine from, again, bone broth, eggs, and collagen protein. Now, I always advocate getting our nutrients from our food. That's the ideal. That's God's design. But there are problems. Sometimes we can't, get all the nutrients we need because of our compromised food supply and availability. So we can buy some products. There's a lot of glutathione products on the market, but most of them don't work. You got to make sure you're buying quality, and your glutathione supplement should be in liposomal or sublingual form. Liposomal encapsulates the glutathione in a fat molecule, and it helps it to survive the digestive juices that come along with passing through the stomach and the small intestine. So in order to absorb the glutathione, it has to survive digestion. And most products out there in the market don't do that. Another way to accomplish that is take your glutathione in a sublingual form. Now, if you want to get some quality glutathione, the best way to do that would be to create an account with my Full Script dispensary. When you do, you'll have access to thousands of high-quality, third-party tested, practitioner-grade products. And if you're a member of the Christian Healthy Lifestyle community, you'll get 10% off all your purchases, as well as access to all my wellness support protocols. I've got a detox protocol on there that has has a great selection of effective detox products. Now, getting back to what we eat, bitter herbs can get our digestive juices flowing. That's the reason why it's traditional to eat a salad before our meals. A healthy pre-meal salad should have more than just iceberg lettuce. It should have bitter herbs like dandelion leaf, arugula, watercress, and things like mustard greens. Those bitter herbs help to jumpstart the digestive process. Bitter herbs cooperate with the divine design for our livers by stimulating natural function and reducing the burden of digestion. Bitter herbs can potentially interfere with certain medications, so if you're taking prescription drugs, discuss the potential for interactions with your prescriber. Another thing to strongly consider when it comes to encouraging natural detoxification is lymph fluid circulation. Our lymph system doesn't have a pump like the heart pumps the blood. Lymph fluid moves through body movement or muscle contraction. So one of the most important things we can do to enhance our detox pathways is to participate in regular, low-intensity movement. Things like walking and gardening are pretty much ideal. Now, if you're stuck in an office chair all day long, set your alarm to go off like once an hour and get up out of your chair and do some stretching. If you can do a few jumping jacks or push-ups or planks, all the better. If that's not appropriate, maybe some walking in place with some high knee raises. That type of movement can go a long way toward enhancing our detoxification processes. If we're not participating in exercise or low-intensity movement, it's not moving at all. So the second part of the detox equation is reduce our exposure. Unless you're living in Mexico City or perhaps Los Angeles, inside air is almost always more toxic than outside air. So if possible, if the season allows, open a window and sit near the window. Get some fresh air. That can help a lot. One of the best ways to clean up your inside air is to use a HEPA air filter. HEPA, H-E-P-A, stands for High Efficiency Particulate Air Filter. Now, HEPA filters can filter things in the air down to 0.3 microns. Now, that's really small. Now, to put that in perspective, anything smaller than 40 microns is not visible to the naked eye. 0.3 microns is extremely small. HEPA filters can filter dust, pollen, pet dander, mold spores, bacteria, and viruses. That's a lot of junk being removed from the air. If you're serious about your health, it's worth looking into. Another thing we should take seriously is the quality of our water. The best water to drink is spring water bottled in glass. Ideally, you'd subscribe to a water subscription service where they deliver the water to your home. You get a bottle delivery service where it comes in glass. There's a lot of spring water bottle delivery services that comes in a 5-gallon glass bottle. That's a good way to get your water. It's a little expensive. You'll need a water dispenser in your house for those big bottles. But if that's not feasible, at the very least, water should be filtered with a charcoal filter. Now, personally, I use a reverse osmosis under sink filter. RO systems are very good at removing impurities, but they're so good they remove essential minerals as well. So if you're going to use a reverse osmosis filter, you need to remineralize your water. I've got some products I recommend in my full script dispensary under my wellness protocols. It's very important to get away from plastic water bottles. This is one of those things like Wi-Fi that's become such a way of life. It's hard to imagine living any other way. Now again, I'm not saying that we can never drink water out of a plastic bottle ever again. I mean, that's pretty much impossible, right? But consider this. A clear plastic bottle left outside in the sunlight, that plastic heats up and starts to leach chemicals into the water. you're essentially making plastic tea. Another thing you can do to minimize your exposure to plastics is don't store your food in plastic containers. And for heaven's sakes, don't microwave anything in plastic. That would be really, really toxic. So one of the ways around this issue is use mason jars to store your leftovers, or maybe some Pyrex glass bowls. Be a good way to store your leftovers. While we're talking about the kitchen, let's not forget to mention those toxic Teflon-coated pans. If you've got any nonstick pans in your house, I recommend you throw them out today. As I talked about in the last episode, Teflon has PFAs, or forever chemicals. Those chemicals persist in our bodies and the environment forever. So don't use nonstick pans, period. Cook with stainless steel or cast iron. If you treat your cast iron pans properly, they'll be totally nonstick. One of the other things that we have to mention is the silver mercury amalgam fillings. If you've got silver fillings in your mouth, you should consider having them removed. Mercury is highly toxic. It's a powerful neurotoxin. It's got no business being inside your mouth. But you just can't go to a regular dentist to have them removed. That'll be dangerous. You've got to see a biological dentist. A good way to find a biological dentist is go to the International Association of Biological Dentistry and Medicine, or the IABDM website. They have a practitioner locator on there. It's a good chance you can find a competent biological dentist in your area. I'll put a link in the show notes to that website. Another thing I mentioned in the last episode is EMF exposure, or electromagnetic frequencies. Now, EMFs are everywhere, but probably the most harmful form would be radiation coming from your cell phone. I know cell phones have become a way of life. I love my iPhone. I'm not getting rid of it. But there's a few things we can do to minimize our exposure to the EMF our cell phones emit. First and foremost, use speakerphone whenever you can. Don't put the phone up to your ear if you can help it. I know it's not always possible, but the electromagnetic radiation coming from the phone will dissipate with distance, and even a few inches can make a big difference. If you find yourself frequently in noisy environments, you can use a wired headset. I don't like Bluetooth headsets because those earpieces are transmitters, and placing them inside your ear canal right next to your brain is not a good idea. By the way, even if your earbuds are not paired with your phone, they're still emitting energy if they're outside of the case. That's the only way the phone can find them. They continuously broadcast a Bluetooth signal, so if you're walking around with the earbuds in your ears, thinking you're not exposed to any EMF because you're not actually listening to music or on a call, think again. Also, if you put your phone in your pocket, put it on airplane mode whenever you can. It's best to have your phone on airplane mode when it's in your pocket. Another exposure to EMF is our Wi-Fi routers in our homes. Now again, I know Wi-Fi has become a way of life, but ideally, we'd hire an electrician to come into our house and install wired connections in every room. Now that's a real hassle and it's quite expensive. So the next best thing is pick up an outlet timer and set your Wi-Fi router to go off at bedtime and power up again when you wake up. That way you'll have 7 to 8, maybe 9 hours a day without Wi-Fi exposure, and sleeping without Wi-Fi will enhance your detoxification process while you're sleeping. So let's sum things up. I know that was a lot. We want to reduce or eliminate processed foods, eat clean, organic, single ingredient foods whenever possible, especially those high in antioxidants like colorful berries. Drink spring water when you can, preferably stored in glass. Cook with cast iron or stainless steel. Store your leftovers in glass like mason jars or Pyrex bowls. Get outside, get some sunlight on your skin, especially in the morning. That helps with your circadian rhythm. Walk daily or do some other low-impact, low-intensity activity like gardening. No, I'm not talking about going to the gym a couple times a week. That's not enough. We need to incorporate movement and low-impact workouts throughout our days, every day. If you're walking or jogging outdoors, stay away from the busy roads. There's a lot of car exhaust there. Focus on walking or hiking in parks that have trails. Walk barefoot on the earth when you can. Get grounded. We call that earthing. And it can help to dissipate some of the harmful EMF that we're exposed to, help our bodies eliminate some of it. Use speakerphone whenever you can on your phones. Put your phone on airplane mode when you have it in your pocket, and shut your Wi-Fi off at night. At least you'll have some peaceful time without any Wi-Fi while you're sleeping. Now, all that sounds pretty simple, but in today's environment, in our busy lifestyles, we've gotten away from the basics. We need to be more proactive and intentional. Now, I want to remind you, the Christian Healthy Lifestyle community had its official launch last week. It went really well, and we've already got some great things going on inside the community. Inside the community, you'll have access to the private podcast, which is the full version of these episodes. You'll also get a 10% discount on my full script dispensary. You'll also have access to my wellness protocols. You'll get a private newsletter. We're going to have monthly live Q&As. If you've been thinking about checking out the community, I encourage you to do just that. If you want to learn more, go to my website, ChristianHealthyLifestyle.com. Now, you don't want to miss next week's episode. I'm going to be talking about breath work and Christian meditation, and how together those can have a positive impact on our nervous systems. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Go out there and live abundantly. I'll talk with you next time. Be blessed.